Hey guys, so I'm back with my first ever YouTube collaboration. Fellow YouTubers and I have teamed up for this collab, and all of our videos will be in a playlist where there'll be a link at the end of this video and in the description box below. Each of us are going to show you how to do a specific technique, so please follow these girls and see what amazing manis they will all be creating. So for my part of this collab, I will be showing you how to do one of my favourite techniques, which is advanced reverse stamping. I will break down as slow as I can and on what I'm doing and why. I've been meaning to record a how to stamp video. So for this mani, I've chosen a large image to stamp. I've chosen this large mandala image from my Born Pretty BP-L052 plate. So first off the bat, when I'm stamping, if the plate is new, you want to remove the blue plastic that comes with the plate. This is just an example plate. I accidentally bought two in my basket online, so I won't be peeling it. I plan on doing a giveaway with it once I learn how all that works. Second, with acetone and a cotton pad, clean the plate to remove the plastic residue. I do this before every time I stamp an image, just to make sure there's no polish hidden in the crevices of the plate from the previous mani. I love that word, crevices. Next is what sort of polish you will be stamping your image with. You can use normal polish, however actual stamping polishes are more pigmented and have a thinner formula and makes it easier for pickup. So it is not impossible to use normal polish if you want. That's how I started off after all. As you can see, the normal Rimmel London green polish stamped well, but the black Rimmel London was very sheer. So it really depends on the polish formula you are using. But I think for every stamper, I recommend you buying a proper black and white stamping polish. Now for the stamper, I will be using my Moyu London Crystal Clear Stamper and my Moyu London 3-in-1 Clear Rectangular Stamper. The only difference in these stampers is their shapes. Both stampers have a clear jelly head with a window that allows you to see through to what you are stamping. There are other different types of stampers, but everybody has their own preference on what they like to use. Such as some people like to use the jelly heads, whereas others prefer a more firmer stamping head. And there are other stampers where you can see through them, and others you can. However, I just like to use this one for smushy manis. But again, it's all personal preference. For the scraper, I will be using this little plastic card scraper that came in my Moyu London Crystal Clear Stamper. I also have a more thicker card scraper from Moyu London. I like to use those too. Like stampers, everyone has their own preference for scrapers. Some like flexible cards, whereas others like a more firmer scraper. There are metal ones, but I hate them. The sound it makes when you scrape makes me think that these little demons are going to ruin your plate. I cringe every time I see someone using one. But, if you like to use them, do it. It's up to you. Now that we got all that out of the way, we're going to start stamping. So, as I said, I wipe down the plate with a cotton pad and acetone before any stamping. See, it looks clean, but there's always some polish hidden in. I note with stamping, everything has to be done fairly quickly, otherwise the polish will dry and not pick up. So I start by applying a decent amount of polish to the half of the image, and then holding the scraper at a 45-degree angle, I swipe along a long stroke across the plate as smooth as possible. I know sometimes you may be tempted to scrape over the image a few times for more coverage, but doing this you'll just be removing more of the polish from the image. An extra scrape won't hurt if you missed a part, but repeated scraping will only dry out the polish, so there won't be a pickup. So once you applied half of the image with polish and scraped smoothly at a 45-degree angle, you may stamp your image. Once again, everyone has their own preference on how they like to do this. You can either stamp straight down and up to pick up the image, but I prefer to do a steady rolling of the wrist motion. So don't press too hard into the plate either, or it won't pick up properly. And there you go, that's how you do a basic stamping. So from here you can stamp this straight on your nail if you want, but today I'll be showing you how to do a reverse stamping design. So some people from here will either stamp this onto the silicone mat and carry on from there. However, I tend to make a mess with the decals when I'm applying them like that. I prefer to just leave them on the stamper, and that way when you're applying them later on you can see what you're doing. So once you've stamped your image, just leave them on the stamper. Next, choose all the pretty colours you want to fill in your design. I'm doing a very colourful mandala here, so I've chosen all these polishes. They are a mixture of stamping and regular polish. This part of the design doesn't matter what kinds of polish you are using, as you're just filling in the image. You can even use hollow if you like. So for me, I like using a tiny dotting tool and put a nice dollop full of polish on my silicone mat. Then dipping my dotting tool into the polish, I lightly paint the image on my stamper. Now, don't be tempted to push too far into the stamper, as you will either break the image below or smudge the design. So with a feather-like touch, you want to float the polish over the image. Some people like to use a detail brush, but again, I tend to make a mess when I do that. I also like using a dotting tool because you got the tiny side for the more detailed parts and then the bigger ball for the more spacious parts. Now sorry, but I've lost the footage of me applying the turquoise to the outer rim of the decal, but I literally just painted it what I did with the rest in turquoise. Once you are happy with the paint job and you're using a clearly jelly stamper, you can see through the other side of what it turned out like. You just leave it on the side to dry. If you have multiple stampers like I do, then you can just stamp the rest and create the decals for the other nails. Luckily these don't take too long to dry, like about 10 minutes at most. So if you haven't got multiple stampers like I do, it won't take you too long. Now whilst the stamping decals are drying, it's time for you to do your nail prep, such as filing, cleaning the nail beds, cuticles and all that fun stuff, and applying a base coat. Now I use false nails, so I know it's really bad, but I don't worry about that stuff for my tutorials. I'm here just for the art. Once you've applied your favourite base coat and it's time for the base colour, for a whole image decal like we've chosen today, I either paint my nails using the lightest colour of the image or a white to make the colours pop underneath, especially with neons and bright colours. But for today, I'll just be using the turquoise from the image. So now for the fun part, applying the decals to the nail. So once the base colour and the decals are dry, there are several options you can do. Some people like to apply a layer of clear polish over the decal and peel it off the stamper. However, for me, again, I just end up making a mess, so I just leave it on the stamper. Apply the decal to the nail. There are a few options. You can either apply a layer of glossy top coat to the nail, wait just over a minute for it to be tacky, and then stamp it onto the nail. Or using a makeup sponge, you can apply some top coat to the sponge and then dab in that sponge all over the nail to create a tacky base, and then stamp the decal on there. My newfound love is this gel foil glue I purchased, which you literally just apply the foil glue to the nail, stick it in the lamp for a minute, and then it's just a sticky base. But if you're not okay with gel, then you just use ordinary foil glue and wait for it to go clear and tacky. So once you have your sticky base, you just lightly press the decal on the stamper into the nail, looking through the finder for positioning. Lightly rolling the stamper back and forth to make sure the image is pressed on, then lifting up behind your beautiful reverse stamping mani. The only problem with this now is cleanup, and I hate cleanup with a passion. I start with chopping off the extra with either a cuticle pusher or a dotting tool around the cuticle, or simply just cutting it away with scissors. For this extra at the tip, you can either file it off or again just simply cut it off. Now with some acetone in a little cup and my Twinkle Tea cleanup brush, I like to dip the brush into the acetone and then wipe off just a little bit off the cotton pad, and then use whatever's left on the brush to remove whatever polish is left on the nail. I do this until I'm happy with my removal. If there's extra polish at the tip, you can just tuck it under with that brush and acetone so it seals it to the back of the tip. Now the final step of this mani is top coat. I like to use a smudge resistant one to prevent smudging, but you can just use a helpful bead of normal glossy top coat and lightly apply it to the nail. Not forgetting to seal the tip, and then once all that's done, apply cuticle oil. And there you go, a full breakdown as to how I like to reverse stamp. I hope I covered everything. If there's any questions, please leave them in the comments below and I'm sure I'll try and get back to you. Please go follow the other girls in this collab and watch the playlist. I can guarantee that their work is going to be stunning. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below, and subscribe. Subscribe good. And thanks so much for watching. Bye!